Welcome back, class. Week 6. It's a very busy week, which is kind of always fun. Just a couple of announcements before we go through chapter 6 today. You've received several announcements and emails from me in the past couple of days. I want to make sure that you receive them or that I give you information for them. First of all, remember that your quiz number 2 opens tomorrow. That is on chapter 4, 5, and 6. It will open tomorrow at 8 a.m. and your deadline for submitting the quiz is Sunday at 7 p.m. Just it's better to get that quiz out of the way, then you don't have to worry about it towards the weekend. But it will open tomorrow at 8 a.m. and you'll have the same opportunity. It's unlimited. You can go in and start taking it, save, and go back to it. It's unlimited until you submit the final quiz. So, reminder, that quiz is due this week, quiz number 2. A different email and announcement I sent out to you is that WT's Theater and Dance Department is producing their first show this fall semester. It's a fun musical. It's the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It'll be a fun show. Remember, you really need to get your tickets fast because I know that show will probably sell out. It's a smaller theater. And so if you want to see that show and use that for one of your reviews, you need to get that information I sent to you of how to get your ticket either through going to the box office or sending an email. But it's all there for you of how to get that ticket. You get one free ticket with your student ID. And you want to make sure that you pick that up as soon as you can. That box office is located in the lobby of the Fine Arts Center. And that's where the show is. The show is in the Experimental Theater. It's a smaller theater. So just keep that in mind. It opens tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's 2 performances, matinee performances, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So you do have some times to choose from. But just keep that in mind. You want to get your ticket as quick as you can, because I'm afraid that show is very popular, and so I think it'll have big audiences, and it's a smaller theater. But have fun. It's a good musical. Just go pure entertainment. And then your review is due next week, October 6th. The review for the show and the criteria for the review is found in Module 6. Go to Module 6 and you'll see the information for the review and submit that no later than next week, October 6th. That's Thursday. So that's the information on the production, WT's production, and the review that's coming up. Also, thank you for submitting your surveys for our Zoom meeting. There were a lot of different kinds of times, and I know trying to get 39 people together is very difficult. And so I chose the date and time where most of you could attend, and that was tomorrow, Wednesday, from 4:30 to 5:30. So you should have received an invitation on that. Just when that is time, just go into the Zoom and the invitation's there. It'll open for you, and we'll have that Zoom meeting. I think it'll be fun. We're just going to go through some discussions, ask any questions that you might have, any challenges that you might are having with the course, and also I've selected 2 of the 1-minute plays we're going to read and discuss. So join us if you can. I do realize that some of you cannot make it. The Zoom meeting will be recorded, and then I will post it in Blackboard when it's available. So those are the announcements this week: the quiz, the production of Spelling Bee, and the Zoom meeting. And then we're going to finish today's video by going into Chapter 6, a discussion on Chapter 6. The Chapter 6 is, in the textbook, is about the producer and the director. This is one of my favorite chapters because for most of my career, I have been a stage director. That's what my training has been in. And it's one of the joys that I get out of my life. I've had a wonderful career directing over 250 productions. I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of equity people, professional people, a lot of students, and it's just been really a valuable and wonderful, joyful process of directing. The director is responsible for the overall style, the pace, and the visual appearance of the production. So the director in any kind of theatrical event is going to select the tool, and in my case, or a director's case, theater director's case, is going to be the script, finding a good script that you want to share with an audience, and then the process is putting that script together to make it a final performance for an audience, put it on stage for an audience. So that director really needs to establish what is the whole visual concept of the show, and then you've got to sell it to a production team, and you've got to sell it to the actors. And so I think a good director has good leadership skills and good communication skills. That's two of the major requirements for a good director. Because keep in mind, the director is a new career. We didn't have directors in the theater up until about 100 years ago. And our very first director we could look at in Germany with the Duke of Saxe-Meiningen, and that was in the 1800s. And then when we look at that individual I talked to you, that you learned about last chapter, Konstantin Stanislavski, was a director at the Moscow Art Theater. He was also one of our very first directors. So it's kind of an exciting career choice. The effective director tends to be well-grounded in theatrical traditions. I think a director needs to know everything there is to know about the theater, because and how to put a show together, meaning all the costumes, the sets, the lighting, the programs, the budgets. How do you basically, what is the theatrical tradition? Style and genre, choosing shows, reading scripts. I think the effective director is also eclectic. It's a great, I love that word, eclectic. You're very eclectic. That means you're going to borrow from all different kinds of ideas and styles and genres. You might be specific in one choice, or if you're eclectic, you bring a lot of information that you've observed and learned over the course of your career. Curious and observant. I think a director has got to be curious about the world around them, curious about life, observant about the human condition, because that's our job, is to put that human behavior on stage. I think the director's got to be adventurous, and I love this word right here, risk-taking. I think the director's got to be a risk taker. Some of the most exciting things that I've done in my career is I've taken scary risks, and sometimes they've paid off, sometimes they have not. But I think it's important for one of the things I really talk to my students about over the course of my career is I said, you got to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. You need to fail, because if you can get back up, learn from that experience of failing, and then you're going to be a much better individual if you've had some failures in your life. I think it's important. That's my personal opinion. I think an effective director's got to be skillful at collaboration. Remember earlier in the textbook, we talk about the theater is the most collaborative of the arts, because we collaborate with a lot of people in collaboration. The director's responsibility: bring the audience out of disbelief and make them transcend into a prolonged moment of unified belief. This is the moment where we talked about the magic moment, where the director's responsibility is to take that script, work with the production team, audition actors, cast the actors, go through a rehearsal process, move into technical rehearsals, get the show ready for opening, and then that moment when the lights go out in the auditorium and the audience is transformed into a new world, that is the director's responsibility. And that is an exciting time, I think. Director's responsibility is to stimulate the critical brain and the intuitive brain. This stimulation allows the audience to explore their belief systems. I love this word, belief systems. Every time I talk to theater majors, theater students, I say, students, never go against your belief systems. You don't have to go against your belief systems. You can be successful and not have to go against your belief systems. Be honest, work with integrity, have good ethics, and pay attention to your belief systems, and make a decision regarding the overall theater experience. I think we learn in threes, and you were doing that this semester here at WT. Your first step that you're doing is you're going through the process of discovering. This theater course is a new course. You're discovering this new craft. You're going into it a little bit more in depth than you have in the past, or new ideas that you never even thought you would be talking about. So that process is discovering. It's a wonderful world when you start discovering new ideas. Then you take those new discoveries and you test them. And you test them over and over again to find the right way or the right truth for making sure that learning is happening and it's correct. And then what you do in your life and with a director is you start pattern setting. All of a sudden, you've gone through the discovery process, you've tested things in your life, they've worked for you, and then they become routine, or you've pattern set them. So I think that's the three ways we learn. The director must establish the learning process for the audience, and this requires a director who is disciplined and creative. The effective director, I think, works in a problem solving, or what I call maybe a challenge solving, because I like the word challenge better than problem. Challenge solving mode, dealing with each situation according to its own specific nature. That's one thing I love about working in my career. I've had a wonderful experience of problem solving or challenge solving. And that, to me, working with people and solving a lot of challenges, making them work, making them not work, finding a new way of doing things. It's always been kind of an exciting process of my career. Directors use active words and phrases such as sharing. I've got to share this show with you. I found this script, and I've got to make sure I share this script or do this theatrical event because I think it's important that a lot of audiences experience this. Whether you do this with movies too, and worth the entire thing is a collaboration, and then we are committed. We have to be committed to the work, and we follow through with a great creative energy and a great flow to make that theatrical event happen. Effective directors are vitally interested in their world. I think good directors are really interested in the world around them. They're curious about life experiences, curious about the human condition, because that is what we are working with. The theatrical event becomes an experience of the human condition. And we've talked about that this semester too. The director must incorporate all of the arts into the work: ballet, dance, history, literature, painting, sculpture, architecture. Not only must I know all of everything there is to know about the human condition, using these active words, making sure I'm curious about the human condition, but then I must incorporate it all together to make sure that theatrical event is successful. A director must receive as broad an education as possible. I think that's important. My PhD is in fine arts. That's pretty broad. Then I have a lot of in my master's degree, it's is in dance and choreography, and also process of directing and theater history. So that's the education. But I think broad education is also meaning a broad education of life. I think a director must have a broad education of life. The director must read great works and study history. I must be a history buff because I'm going to be doing theatrical events from all different kinds, time periods. The classical Greek, the Romantics, Shakespeare, up into the modern and into the anti-realism. So I've got to know all of those great works and study history. I think a very successful director must do some acting. It's very, very important. Every director, if you're going to be successful, you've got to, first of all, do some acting. You're going to be working with actors. Actors are really sensitive human beings, and you really need to know how to communicate with them. And so you've got to put yourself in the shoes of an actor before you can direct. I think it's very, very important. You've got to experience concerts, ballets, sporting events. You've got to go for a long journey around the world to countries you've never seen and whose languages you cannot speak. Very, very important. The director is a doer. Take along just enough money to survive. You don't need a lot of money. As you know, this particular craft, you're not going to earn a lot of money unless you are working in a different kind of industry, such as the movies, and you're a star or Broadway, whatever. You might make some money, but that's not the point of our career. Teachers are the same way. You know, we just love working with individuals, and money is good to have. Of course, benefits are good to have, but just take enough money to survive. You need to court death and disaster, meaning you need to take a lot of risks. You need to push yourself to the edge. And this is where I've talked about this semester. I think I've talked about this semester is one of the most important things about a good director is I cannot be judgmental. I've got to learn everybody's motives and what their lifestyle is. I cannot judge their lifestyle because I'm going to be doing plays of all these different characters in these different kinds of genres and history, and so it's very, very difficult for me to be judgmental. In fact, I'm not. I've prided myself on my career of that. I've got to learn the meaning of the word risk. Risk is one of those really great words, and then transfer it into aesthetic terms. Directors seek the spirit of adventure. They're being in the quest of truth. They're finding truth. I love this little quote right here. There is no way to reflect life unless you have one. And directors, this really goes for directing. In short, directors must live. They must know what it's like to live because they are putting life on stage, the living, breathing human figure on stage, the human behavior on stage. Directing is a lifelong process. It never ends. I'm continually learning new things about directing because life changes, the world changes. The director guides the work, creates the room, allowing the artist to solve all the creative problems. And then we finish up the chapter with this very much needed individual called the producer. And to just kind of be basic, the main job of the producer is to bring money, is to raise the money, is to give the money. Theatrical events cost money, and the producer's responsibility. That's all the producer's job is to give the money, find the money, raise the money. And for some productions on Broadway, they're very, very expensive. So you get a group of producers together, and they put in millions and millions of dollars. Or you just are working in a college university theater experience, and therefore the college university is the producer because they put forth the budget for the productions and the major, whatever the major is for the theater student. The producer in the commercial theater, raising money to finance the production, securing the rights to the script. You cannot do a script unless you pay the rights. You got to pay the playwright. Every script is owned by a playwright. Copyright laws. You've got to deal with theatrical unions as a producer. You've got to rent the theater space. You are totally overseeing the budget, and that is what the managing director does, is oversees the budget. Hiring the director, the performers, the designers, the stage crews. That is basically what the producer does. So class, that is chapter 6, the director and the producer. Just remember those things we talked about. Next week, we're moving into chapter 7. We're finishing up this particular unit on the theatrical event quickly. Our chapter 7, the next quiz 3, is 4 chapters instead of 3. It's chapter 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll go through that starting next week, chapter 7. But remember, just watch my lips. You have a quiz due. There's a show opening, and there's a Zoom meeting if you want to join. So there you go. Have a great week. Enjoy the week, and have fun at Spelling Bee. I'm interested to see what your reaction is. Remember, the critique, the review is due next week, August 6th. That's the review, and the criteria is found in module 6, which is the module we're in right now. So have a good week, guys. I'll talk to you soon.